Adam, we're live.
Welcome back, everyone. Even though you can't see me, I'm here. Episode 19 of Kids Deserve It. We hope you've been enjoying our weekly chats with educators and game changers from around the country. And guess what? In case you didn't know, we are on iTunes, which we're really excited about. This week, we've got another great guest. And Todd, I'm so bummed you can't see me because I'm wearing my Webb Elementary t-shirt right now.
Oh, man.
I know. But first, we want to introduce ourselves. I'm Adam Welcome, elementary principal in Danville, California.
And I'm Todd Nesloni, principal in Navasota, Texas. And our guest today, you want to introduce yourself?
Howie DeBlasi from Austin, Texas, just a little bit from your place.
That's right. Well, we want to remind all of our viewers to participate in the chat along the side. We want to thank everyone for watching last week's episode. We like hearing what sticks out to you, so make sure you're sharing on social media using the hashtag KidsDeserveIt.
So we have a few questions for you, Howie. So for those of you who don't know who you are, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'll give you the 30 to 40 second spiel. I was a teacher, a vocational education teacher for 20 years in the classroom, left the classroom, opened a computer business back I won't give the dates, but back when computers were first starting back in the 70s. We used to build them, an Altar, and just had all kinds of fun. Then opened the computer business in 1984 when the Macintosh first came out. We were one of the first Macintosh dealers in the country in Lake Havasu, Arizona. Did that, sold that business, wanted to teach in a college, and the door kept hitting me in my rear end because I didn't have 3 letters after my name. Went back to school, finished that, and ended up in Durango, Colorado for 17 years as our chief information officer. 7 years ago, started traveling the country and the world, sharing my passion for 21st century learning and how to change classrooms.
That's awesome. Nice. Well, Howie, one of the cool things that you've started recently is something called My Disney Class. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was kind of came along right after Ed Camp Magic last year in Orlando, and give a plug for that. We're doing it again this year, same place. If you want to have an awesome time, traditional Ed Camp, but with a Disney spin on it. We have a Disney historian coming to share with us, some Disney authors. And what happened is we said, how do we make this sustainable? How do we continue this after the Ed Camp? Because we all go to conferences and what do we take away? And 2 weeks later, we've forgotten about it. So Ryan Beckman and I said, hey, let's do something with Disney, because we had a session there called Disney in the Classroom. Mm-hmm. Absolutely amazing what the stories were that teachers had and how they used the Disney ideals of Walt Disney, of creativity and innovation, critical thinking, storytelling, all of those fundamentals that were in the classroom the teachers had. So Ryan and I in August said, hey, let's go for it. So we started My Disney Class. It's just been amazing in launching it. We have a website called mydisneyclass.com, and we provide every week tools for teachers to use for critical thinking, creativity, storytelling, problem solving, innovation. And we have a podcast we do every 2 weeks. We bring folks on that are like-minded educators. We had Angela Mayers just a few weeks ago, and we're going to get both you guys on there here shortly. We'll set up a time. And we're always looking for people to share their passion. And that's usually the question that we would say to you in the podcast. What is your passion? What are you really passionate about? What do you want to do to change the world? And that's what Ryan and I are really trying to do. And it's been extremely successful and very well accepted.
That's awesome. Very nice. So what do you see as the biggest thing that educators and education in general can learn from Disney, Howie?
Well, I think I'm going to go back to Walt Disney. 1973 is actually back in the 50s, 55. I was around when Walt first opened Disneyland and read a lot of things. And as time went on in the 70s, I went to Disneyland, and I was just absolutely amazed about how do they make this stuff work? And one of the things that I found over the years, there's a lot of other people that say the same thing. They go to an attraction, they go in there, and they get so immersed in the story and get pulled in. And Walt had something that he called the weenie. And basically the weenie was saying come here, come this way. When you walk down Main Street, that castle grabs you. And there's a whole story behind that. And when you go on his attractions, there's a story behind every one of those. So the power of storytelling is just absolutely amazing, and how you can change. And we provide tools on the website of how to do storytelling. Jeff Dixon, and I pulled this out because Jeff Dixon is a good friend. He's written several books. He's a very well, like number 3 or 4 Disney author, and he writes historical fiction. He takes and tells you stories, but he weaves in actual places in the park. And when you read it, you say, I've been there. I saw that. And people go through and they look at all that. But Jeff wrote and sent something to me 3 years ago after I met him. He's a pastor actually at a church. And he sent me something, and I said, well, Jeff, what is storytelling? And I'm going to read you exactly what he said. He says, that's the power of a good story. It can encourage, it can make you laugh, it can bring you joy. It can make you think, it will tap into your hidden emotions, and it can make you cry. The power of a story can also bring about healing, give you peace, and change your life. And Jeff changed my life because he encouraged me and said, you need to go to share your passion with teachers and talk about Walt Disney ideals, innovation, creativity, communication, dreaming about blue sky, meet Imagineers. And I've met several Imagineers. They're the ones that actually design the attraction, but it's always about storytelling. So I feel that storytelling piece is the powerful piece.
Nice.
Well, and I think that's so true too about educators, is that we are the storytellers for that content that we're going to be learning. And just like you said with Disney having that weenie that draws people in, we have to figure out a way to draw the kids in, not only to our classroom and into us, but into what we're trying to teach them that day as well. I think that's a great point to make.
Yeah, and one of the things that Ryan and I have come across with a lot of our guests, we've done about 15 podcasts, is when we tell and ask a teacher, please tell us your story. And I say, well, I don't have a story. We said, yes, you do. Everybody has a story.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they start thinking about what happened with a student or how a life was changed. In my case, a lot of my students from vocational education went on to be engineers at Motorola and a lot of big companies. And the power of it is now many years later, they tell me how much that class changed their life and gave them a direction in their life. So everybody does have a story. We just need to encourage the teachers and the students to bring that story out.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's completely true. Well, what do you see, if you had one wish for education, Howie, what would that wish be?
I'm going to tie this into something that I'm pretty passionate about, and it happened to me my first year of teaching. I almost quit. Mm-hmm. But what happened to me was a mentor came along, and he took me under his wing and said, I'm going to help you. I'm going to get you through this. I was teaching in middle school, and it was so frustrating because I didn't have the skills. And I think that could really change education if all of us would find someone to put their arm around and say, I know you're struggling. Maybe I can help. I've been there. I've done that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we just turn away when people are struggling because it's going to take time and it's going to take effort. And I think that would just change education so much. I get so upset when I see things on Twitter and how different people are trashing teachers and, they're not doing a good job and all the things that go on. But there's so many positive things that they've done. And by putting that arm around that teacher and finding Mrs. Johnson, who just says, I'm never going to get this technology stuff. I just don't understand this Twitter thing. And what is this hashtag thing or, whatever it is. But there's so many teachers like that in our schools. And we don't, unfortunately, all take and make an effort to go find that person and say, I can help. Can I help you in some way? And then to follow them throughout the year. And Bob Johnson was the guy that did it for me. And he was the one that made a difference. And I said, I love teaching. I want to stay and do this.
Well, I think you made an important point, too, about mentors and about how sometimes we have to go and ask them if they need help or if they need something. Because sometimes these people who feel like they're drowning or feel like they don't know what to do, they view themselves as a failure by having to go and ask for help. And I've had many of my first year teachers this year that I keep going to them and saying, what do you need from me? What can I do? How can I support you? Because I don't want you to not ask for help and then fail. And then it's on both of us.
Yeah, I agree. And I follow both you guys. And Todd, it's just pretty amazing what you're doing with Kids Deserve It. I mean, I didn't really know about the project until I listened to the podcast that you guys did with Angela maybe a month or so ago.
Yeah.
And Angela and I have been friends for 5 years. We used to do some things with Ellen November years ago. And we met, and I called her and said, hey, I saw you with Todd and Adam, and, would you come on the show? And I knew Angela was passionate, but wow. I mean, she just knocked it out of the ballpark on the podcast. It ended up being 52 minutes of Angela sharing that.
She's awesome.
But it was just absolutely awesome. And it just encouraged me because sometimes, we have a rough day or whatever. And what you guys are both doing with Kids Deserve It, I just love reading the tweets, watching on Facebook, and just taking whatever that particular passion is and doing that and helping the teachers. And you really do a good job, both of you guys.
Thank you. You travel and you speak and present often, Howie. What do you see as one of the biggest challenges in education right now, and how can we fix it?
Well, I'm going to give you an example of a project that I do. I'm heading to Orlando again. I'm very fortunate. I get to go down to Disney World. I work with Disney. I don't work for Disney. We have to be very careful in the way that we say that with some contract work. But one of the things that I do is I'll be at the Brain Conference along with Angela. And one of the classes that we do in the workshop is something called Imagineering Classrooms. And what it is these teachers we take through the workshop in a full-day workshop, and they design a theme park attraction. We take all the fundamentals that the Imagineers do. We come up with blue sky. You come up with a particular idea, and then you have to put a story together with it. Tell the story. Then you have to create using Google Draw or any number of things. You have to make a model, and then you have to do some research on patents. How do the patents apply? How are you going to do this? How are you going to theme it? How are you going to have an interactive cue so they pull you into the story? You do the weenie. You put all those pieces together. And then the culminating project at the end is you have to do a 5-minute presentation to sell. We usually try to bring a Disney Imagineer in, and they listen along with me, and they have a rubric, and they have 5 minutes to sell their project. And then we get a gift card together. There's hundreds of schools that are doing that, and honestly, it brings tears to my eyes when I get emails saying from teachers, I was going to quit teaching, and I did this project. I have never seen kids so engaged.
I bet.
Much fun. It is so much fun in being able to do that. And if anybody would like, I give it free. I wrote the book. Steve Alcorn, an Imagineer who did the American Adventure Pavilion at Epcot, helped me put it together. And he said, you need to sell this. I said, no, this is my gift back to teachers. And it's a full curriculum. You can do it in 2 weeks if you want to. You can do it in 9 weeks or a semester. And all they have to do is send an email to mydisneyclass@gmail.com. And in the heading, just put Disney 71. That's the code. And I will send to them the full book. It's awesome. 284 pages. Wow. And it gives them how to do everything. And it's just that I have seen more changes come about because of that one thing, because the teachers say, this is project-based learning, STEM, STEAM on steroids.
Yeah.
And it's a real world exercise.
That's so cool.
That's how I'm seeing a lot of changes come about.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, who is someone that inspires or challenges you to be better?
Walt Disney. I mean, I know, and I'm a Disney geek, or some people, they have different terms, but all of the ideals that Walt had, and I've got probably 60, 70 books that I've read. I know about his life. I know all the struggles. And one of the things that kept coming up over and over is how many times he failed. Mm-hmm. Over and over he failed, but he moved ahead. And by reading all of those things, and then I've read some things with Tony Baxter, who was an Imagineer, Marty Sklar. These are the guys that actually built many of the attractions you're familiar with, that people are, like Pirates of the Caribbean, Space Mountain, and the books tell all about that. And one of the quotes that Walt has that is my favorite quote is, it says, "It's kind of fun to do the impossible." And that's what I think we're trying to do. I mean, what you guys are trying to do, what I'm trying to do. I'm now in the role where I get to travel around and do these workshops. I also do a lot of them via video conference now. So, Walt Disney is kind of my inspiration. And as I said, that's kind of the favorite quote that I have that he said, it's kind of fun to do the impossible.
I love that.
Nice. Howie, every week we like our guests to leave a challenge for our viewers. What's your challenge for the week?
I'm going to go back to the mentor. And it was funny because this morning at church, our pastor was talking about loving your neighbor. And he said how hard that is because we don't want to get involved. And I was sitting there thinking about tonight, and I thought, you know what? That really applies a lot to teachers. And I thought about the thing of being a mentor. And he was talking about things about that people that when they love their neighbor, they should always be looking for the neighbor and go get involved in someone. He told very quickly a story about the neighbor that took a picnic table and put it on her front lawn and sat down with a coffee cup. In 3 hours, a couple people came by, her neighbors. They now have 30 people that come together. She's met all those people in the neighborhood. And I thought, what a great way if we could do that same thing, but apply it to the mentors. So maybe get one or two or have a program. Todd, both of you guys are principals, and you're instrumental in changing that whole culture in your classroom. And in the way that this was done, I thought it applies the same way, that the good mentors are always looking out there for opportunities. They don't shy away. They say, I can do this, I can make a change, and I'm working with Bob Smith or whoever the teacher happens to be, but let me go find somebody else to work with somebody else. And they're always looking for ways to connect. So my challenge would be, look around at your school. Go find that teacher who's struggling with technology, and maybe you've got a one-to-one. Maybe there's a Chromebook or whatever the program is. Maybe it's an iPad initiative. You're always going to have some people that struggle and get frustrated. And go find those people and help those people. And I think we'll see, if we will all do that, I think we'll see a big change.
Nice.
I love that.
You know, I was thinking about mentors. I'm just going to name drop. Peter DeWitt has been my mentor for a few years. And whenever I kind of need some inspiration or need somebody to kind of bounce some ideas off of, it's always great to have somebody. And I've only met him once in person, but just that person that's done it and they're doing different things and always pushing the envelope. So we actually don't have a guest to announce for next week. We're going to do a new date and time because Todd is flying to Paris with his wife. So next Saturday at 9 a.m. and we will announce our guest tomorrow. We're still trying to confirm that person. So
Todd, you've got to go to Disneyland Paris.
Hey, we have tickets. We're going for one day.
Oh, listen, we'll connect later. I've been twice. It is amazing. I mean,
I'm telling you, we did our honeymoon at Walt Disney World in Florida. So when we planned the trip to go to Disney, we were like, well, we have to go to Disneyland Paris if we're going to be in Paris. So we have the plans to do that.
Well, and you'll see some comparisons, but on our blog, I do twice a month. And I have a story on there if you want to go look at it. It's about something called Phantom Manor. It is the haunted house, but a whole different story. And you talk about the Parisians love gore. They love skeletons. And the Haunted Mansion is very mild. When you go into Phantom Manor, you are going to be blown away. You're going to want to go twice. Because there's a whole story of Thunder Mountain. There's a whole story in the whole land that's there. And go take a look on the blog. It's blogspot mydisneyclass.com. And you can read the whole story about that. And I've got pictures in there, so I'm warning you ahead of time. They're a little bit gory. Hey, can I give a couple plugs of some of the things?
Yeah, go ahead, Howie. Go ahead.
The blog, as I said, we do twice a month. And the podcast we do twice a month. You can subscribe on iTunes. I just heard Adam say that you guys got on iTunes. We were fortunate enough to get on there. You can listen on Stitcher if you want to. You can go to Libsyn and subscribe there if you want to. The mydisneyclass.com we mentioned. The email is mydisneyclass@gmail.com. And I'm also very proud that I get the opportunity to blog a couple times a month for WDW Fan Zone. And I don't know if you're familiar with any of the Disney stuff, but Diz Unplugged, I just got an invite to blog for them. So I love writing, and I do a lot of the storytelling and the history piece. And you'll see on the website some things that have to do, like we have a thing called DHI, Disney History Investigation. Then we'll have one on DSI, Disney Science Investigation. And each month we do a different thing in there and show you how to tie those things into it and bring in Disney into the classroom. And the last thing is Ed Camp Magic. We've got discounts on rooms, discounts on tickets. If you've not signed up, Ryan and I are doing a session called the Tinkering Zone. And it's going to be a tinker area that you can come in, and we got lots of toys you can tear apart and see if you can make kind of a Frankenstein thing and put it together and make some other things work. And there'll also be a makerspace area along with traditional Ed Camp Magic. June 4th in Orlando at Windermere Prep.
That is awesome. Well, Howie, thank you so much for being on our show tonight. We really appreciate you giving us some of your time. I know everybody's time is precious, so I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Hey, this has just been a blast. Thanks for the invite. And I will be contacting both you and Adam and have you on our podcast, and we'll talk about Kids Deserve It and what you guys are doing. In fact, it was funny. I just saw Peggy George is there. I saw her little face just kind of fly on by. Peggy and I go way back to Arizona when I first started in 2007, going out and doing some keynotes and some workshops. So shout out there to Peggy. I see her in there.
She's there.
We want to let our viewers know as well that we have 3 days left to get your pink limited edition Kids Deserve It t-shirt or your blue Kids Deserve It hoodie. You can visit our website and go to our blog to figure out the links, but the links are also booster.com/KDI shirt or booster.com/KDI sweatshirt. And so those will be for sale for 3 more days. And remember, 100% of the proceeds will get donated back to educators and donors choose projects. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this week, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.